Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And this is a band I've been looking forward to moving into this direction. That sort of 70s, 80s, post-punk, pre-punk, post-new wave, pre-new wave era. And this is one of the most influential bands, which is the Talking Heads. This is Once in a Lifetime, live in Los Angeles on the Rondell Rock channel. Please go and subscribe. And that comes from a live concert DVD I think will Stop Making Sense, which I've seen bits of, but I need to get back into them. This song is from the 1980 album Remain in the Light. And I think this came to my attention in 82, 81, 82, and I really started getting sort of pushed into that. What is this? I was listening to Prince. He was doing sort of post-funk, blues, rock, electronic stuff, and I was kind of heading that direction. I'd been listening to the whole new wave thing in the UK. You know, you had bands like Ultravox and Visage and different artists. You had Depeche Mode coming through. So it was all in that era, but these guys just, when it hit me hard, and that came from Little Creatures in 85 when it really, rocked my head. I knew about Psycho Killer, and I knew very little about them, and over the years I've learned little bits. And I watched a video today, actually, on David Byrne when he's on Wired, and they're asking him the Google search questions. Does David Byrne have a big nose? All that nonsense. But he answers the questions, and I recommend you go and look at it. He's really self-effacing. I think he's got a humbleness about him. But at the end, they ask him all the questions, what's your favourite song? What song makes you cry? All that stuff. And you get a bit of his background. He's born in Scotland, but obviously raised in, I think it must be Rhode Island somewhere. Done his musical stuff, started in Brooklyn, but formed the band with Chris Frantz, the drummer. He gives credit to Chris Frantz, really, because they knew each other as friends, and Chris Frantz said to David Byrne, hey, you've got some songs, let's do this. I'm kind of paraphrasing David Byrne, but what was interesting, at the end of the questions, you could see he was really professional. He answered them, but he says, guys, next time, don't ask me these questions. You can find them on Google. Let's get into the metaphysical. Ask me questions on philosophy and what I really think. And I thought that was a key indicator of who he is and how that band, right up to 92, was able to produce some songs that we'll talk about in a bit. This song itself has been made by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as in the top 500 most influential songs in rock and roll history. That's the top 500. You think how many songs there've been. Think how many artists will be in there that we know. Yeah, and then these guys appear. He won an Oscar for co-writing the soundtrack for The Last Emperor. This guy's super talented. Yeah, and he talked about the demise of the Talking Heads and, why they won't reunite. It was basically that they were all friends, got together. They got together with their shared musical interests, produced it, but as they grew, their musical interests changed, and they found they weren't spending time together as friends like they used to. So they just drifted apart. It was a natural devolution, really, and an evolution of him as an artist. But anyway, I've talked a little bit about him. His parents listen to Scottish folk music, Pete Seeger, but he says that doesn't influence him. I find that kind of difficult. I think if you've listened, like I grew up listening to Frank Sinatra and Matt Monro and Lou Rawls, and my mum was like the more poppy stuff, so it has to influence you. Yeah, whether you do anything with it, but it's there in the back of your mind. Certain beat tracks, rhythms. Whether he consciously is influenced by his parental musical sort of interests, I suspect he would have to say, I don't know. But I just found the Wired interview such an insight as to who he is. Not personally, I don't know him. Yeah, but it's really recent, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, here we go. Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime, live in Los Angeles, 83. this is beautiful because this transition, I'll pull it back, and this this is the metaphysical element of what I think his songwriting here is about. You know, what he's inserting lyrics into your consciousness to say, well, what's your idea? What's going on? Is this real? Is that not? How do we perceive things, and what do we understand about ourselves, and the metaphysical, the grand narrative, how we live in the world? What are you doing? Not what are you doing physically, but it's more about a realization philosophically of how you're viewing your life. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house. You may find yourself with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, how did I get here? Yeah. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground. That's that constant water which erodes. So it's the erosion of your life, in my belief. It's that your life is going on, but it is just being eroded if you're not aware of it, if you're not considering your current situation and looking at the world through a lens of how is my life changing and what is my life about. And it's just so cool because it's so thing. And then he was asked in the Wired, and I've seen before, he was asked about his dancing. He said, well, I tried dancing and there's other guys doing it better than me. So I just found some steps that were good for me and it worked, so I did it. So I don't think this was this sort of avant-garde, preconceived, it's just something he found he could do it well, and he couldn't do the Michael Jackson one-step, two-step. So he kind of laughed about it. Well, I can't really dance, so I did this instead. And it became synonymous with who he is. His performance, the performative element of the band. And I know they've done lots of things, but that's that interesting about, and you may find yourself in a shotgun shack, which isn't cool, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile so he's presenting you two narratives. Which is your life? Yeah, it's so cool. Let's pull it back a bit, just a couple of seconds, and we'll stick with it. Thanks, guys. Please stay with me. I love this.
Where is that large automobile? You may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. You may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful life. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Same as it ever was. 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 What is this of? What of a moon? There is water at the bottom of the ocean. Remove the water, carry the water. Remove the water from the bottom of the ocean. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stone. There is water underground. Letting the days go by, into the silent water.
Sorry, guys. When he's hitting his head, that's what you do when you have a realization. What the hell am I doing here? What is happening in my life? What am I thinking life is? How do I think how I'm living life? Is that actually real? So it opens up those two characters, and he could be looking on the outside in going, well, I don't have that beautiful wife. I don't have that beautiful car. Yeah, and I'm living in a shotgun shack. Or he could be in that person now saying, how did I get here? What is my life about? What is this beautiful house? What have I got a beautiful wife? Yeah, and they're each, it's like it's a paradox, isn't it, really? Are you living, which life is this song saying that you're living? Are you awake to the constant erosion of the world by the water, the constant movement of life as nature would make it happen? You don't control time. Time doesn't really control you, it's consistent. We don't control the water, although we try. and you're letting the days go by. Oh, it's so cool. Sorry, guys, to pull it back a bit, and then we'll get into it.
The bottom of the ocean. Remove the water, carry the water. Remove the water from the bottom of the ocean. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stone. There is water underground, letting the days go by, into the silent water, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. You may ask yourself, what is that beautiful house? You may ask yourself, where does that highway lead to? You may ask yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? You may say to yourself, my God, what have I done? Letting the days go by, letting the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stone. There is water underground, letting the days go by, into the silent water, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Same as it ever was, 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 same as it Time isn't holding us. Time isn't after us. Time isn't holding us. Time isn't holding us. Time isn't holding us. Time isn't after us. Time isn't holding us. Letting the days go by. Letting the days go by. Letting the days go by. Once in a lifetime.
When you, so much to say here for me, I'm trying to synthesize it. When you go to 419 and that water, you see he makes a movement of the water's flowing over him. It's that constant, he's submerged by life itself. But then he kind of rises, and they all rise out of that. It's like a living resurrection, if you like, that metaphysical. And he's coming through, and once in a lifetime water flowing on the ground, same as it ever was. So what he's saying is, you know, hey, let's sister thumbs, here comes the twist. It's really twisted, it's nuanced. I can't make it all. But for me, there's kind of three elements to this song. There's was that his life? And he's looking at it, is it with envy or is it with an understanding that he's living in a shotgun shack? The money's gone. He doesn't have anything. Is that what he's emerging from, or is that one person looking at another? Yeah, and it's so cool, yeah. What is this beautiful house? My God, what have I done? Is that a realization that he's lived his life under the constant pressure of living a life he didn't want? He never challenged his own. He never used the philosophical viewpoint of what is my life? Where am I going with it? He just lived it and let the water keep him constantly underground. Maybe I'm just talking out of my big fat backside, but that song is just so cool. And now you know, there's so much to get into with the Talking Heads. 73 onwards, other members of the band, influences, Keisha and Eddie Vedder and Trent Reznor, all citing him as an influence on their musical development. And those are major artists. It's just so cool. Think about this. It's got that progressive pop runky, what? Pop, maybe I've just find a new musical genre, but it's got elements of jazz, and it's got that, it's really complicated music by really talented musicians, but David Byrne's singing, but it's performative, and it's such a cool stage show. I'm going to have to watch Stop Making Sense. Yeah, everybody go and watch Stop Making Sense. If you like it, guys, join in. Tell me where to go next. Am I going to Little Creatures? Am I going to Psycho Killer? Am I going to Burning Down the House? Tell me. Yeah, this is not my first reaction, but it's been, God, 30 years since I listened to Talking Heads, and I missed it. I realised how much I missed it. Till next time, guys, take care.